welcome to my channel. My name is Heather and today we're going to be talking all about baby food. I'm going to show you how I make our baby food purees just using things that we generally have in our kitchen. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And make sure you watch till the very end because I'll be sharing some fun recipe ideas and combinations for my baby food. So here are some of the things that we'll be using today. I'm going to wash these sweet potatoes and peel them, and then I'll be cutting them up and boiling them. I'm also going to bake the zucchini and the squash. I'll be boiling the carrots as well. I just got these steamers this time around for our green beans and our sweet peas, so these are just super easy. So I'm just going to steam those instead of making them fresh. Obviously it would be a little bit healthier if you made them fresh, but I just got these this time around for convenience. And then these apples I'll be cutting up and boiling as well. First, bananas, we'll just kind of cut those up and add them in. As far as equipment, I'm not using anything fancy. I am just using the food processor and a blender, and of course just a pot and a cutting board to cut up and boil the sweet potatoes, and then I'm putting the zucchini and the squash in the oven to bake. So I just have a regular blender here and this little food processor. So for the sweet potatoes, I just cook them until I can poke a fork in them and they're nice and soft. And then I'm going to drain that water. And I actually recommend keeping just a little bit of that water just in case your puree is too thick. You can always add a little bit of that nutrient-dense water back in. So I'm going to be putting just a little bit in this bowl, and then we'll be mixing it up in the blender. I like to add just a little bit of cinnamon to the sweet potatoes just to give him exposure to some spice. And your blood is in the water as you go straight through the food processor because the blender wasn't working for the sweet potato, but you can kind of see there the consistency. It's pretty thick, which is fine for my baby because he is eating these thicker purees, but if you want it a little bit thinner, you can always add a little bit of that water that we reserved or a little bit of breast milk or formula to thin it out a little bit. Everything is blended and ready to go. I'm going to be putting it in these little trays, and I actually just got these on Amazon. They're silicone on the bottom so that you can just pop the food right out, and I think these are the equivalent of about 1 ounce of baby food, so you can just pop out however many you need for your baby for the next day. And I'll just put them in a container with a lid, that way they can thaw overnight and be ready for him for the next morning. I also have these little jars that I just already had, and I will put some in these as well just to keep in the fridge. It should be good in the fridge for about 3 days or so, so I'll put some of it in those. And then something else I just got is these baby Brezza pouches. So this is not sponsored or anything, but I actually just got these and I'm going to try them out because we do buy the little organic pouches for when we're on the go. And so I thought, well, why don't I just make my own? And these actually open on the side to make it easier to put the food in. And then you use this little funnel to open it up, put the food in, and then zip it back up, and you can put these in the freezer or in the refrigerator and have those for when you're on the go with your own baby food. So I thought okay, so I'm trying out the pouches now. So there's this little orange insert, and you just open it up on the side, put that in, and this will help it to stay open so you can fill it up. And these hold up to 7 ounces, which is pretty cool because if your baby needs to eat a little bit more, the ones that you buy at the store I think are only 4 ounces. At least those are the biggest ones that I've seen. And these would actually even be good when your baby is a toddler. You could put yogurt in them or things like that for when you're on the go as well. So I feel like they're a pretty good investment. Okay, so for the apples, I'm actually going to be cutting these up, of course getting all the seeds out, and then I'm gonna actually add a little bit of cinnamon, and then I'll be baking these in a saucepan.
My love for the ocean, I would be long gone by now. It's some kind of devotion brings me down.
I just boil them until you can stick them with a fork and they are nice and soft. And then we'll drain these and puree them as well. And if you want, you can add a little bit of cinnamon, just like we did with the sweet potato. So I promised you some fun recipe combos, and the first one is going to be kale, apple, and blueberry. I like to try to hide kale and spinach in with some fruit just because it does have a little bit more of a bitter taste. Fruit just helps sweeten it up just a little bit. So I'll be doing that combination. First thing, so we already baked the apples, boiled the apples earlier. So now I'm just going to steam some kale, and then we'll be adding in the blueberries and pureeing all of that together. Okay, so I just have this bag of organic kale that's already chopped up, and I don't really measure, but I am just gonna take pretty big handful, probably about a cup of that, maybe a little bit more than a cup. You just want to make sure you have a little bit more fruit than kale so that you don't have too bitter of a taste. And I always just go ahead and wash it, even though it says pre-washed, just to make sure. And you really don't have to steam it, but I'm just going to steam it for just a couple of minutes just to make it a little softer. Next, I'm just going to be adding some blueberries, about half a cup. Like I said, I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of combining, but just do whatever you think. If your baby loves veggies or more, or fruit more, you can kind of go off of that. But since the kale, like I said, is more bitter, I'm going to be adding a little bit more fruit than kale. And this time I'm just using frozen blueberries. Of course, you could use fresh blueberries as well, but I'm just going to be adding a few of those in with the kale. All right, and once those blueberries and kale are steamed, then I'm going to be adding those to the food processor along with the apples that we made earlier and pureeing all of that together. The trick is you want to steam your veggies just long enough for them to be soft.
Without my love for the
Okay, the next combination is going to be spinach, banana, and apple. So the riper the banana, the sweeter. So if you are wanting to sweeten it up, then make sure you're using really ripe bananas with a little bit of brown on them. It's even better. And like I said, I like to cut the spinach and the kale with some sweetness, and my baby loves bananas. So I think this will be a good combination. Hopefully your baby will love it as well.
You're holding my mind in a tight grip when I walk all over you, and your blood is in the water, and you go straight through my heart, through my heart.
Okay, so the next combination, I'm going to chop up the zucchini and the squash, and I'm going to mix that together in the blender with some applesauce because I already used up all of the apples that we made and I really didn't want to peel and bake more apples. So you could just use regular apples or applesauce for this. Alright, next I am going to be making peas, carrots, and green beans. So I have already steamed these bags of peas and green beans, and then we're going to add the carrots that we boiled earlier and mix all of that together. And I like to go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil also, just to get in some healthy fat for my baby. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. You could also add in grass-fed butter to add in a little bit more healthy fat. And you could, if your baby has already been exposed to some other spices like cumin, you could add something like that too, but I'm just gonna keep it simple and just do the peas, carrots, and green beans today with a little bit of olive oil. And then at the very end, I have a little bonus if you happen to have yogurt on hand, so stay tuned for that. To use the food processor and the blender at the same time, since I made so much, and then combine the carrots into the green pea and green bean mixture. But it made a ton, you guys, so I actually don't even have enough storage containers for it, so I think I'm just going to scoop it into baggies and put the date and save that because I got a little carried away and made a lot. But of course you could also just keep the carrots by themselves or the green beans and peas by themselves, and I do that some of the time, but for today I just wanted to go ahead and give you an idea of a combination, some different combinations that you could create. So yeah, but just get creative with it and experiment and see what your baby likes. Okay, so the last thing that we are going to make is yogurt with blueberries. So I'm just going to use the last little bit of blueberries that I had in this bag, and I'm going to be using whole fat yogurt, just plain yogurt. You want to make sure it's plain because if you get the flavored kind with vanilla or any flavoring, it usually has added sugar. So I just use the plain yogurt. I'm going to mix that up with some blueberries, and I'm also going to be adding some cinnamon to that as well. And that's really great to have on hand just for like a snack in between meal. I like to just thaw a little bit of this out the night before and have that ready, and I just mix it up with his oatmeal. Another thing that I wanted to mention with these baby Brezza pouches is make sure that you pull out the bottom like that. So you need to just kind of put your hand in there and pop that open so that it stands up on its own.
I guess my love is for the ocean, not for you. No, not for you.
These are already frozen, and the great thing about these trays is they are silicone at the bottom, so I just wanted to show you how easy it is to pop that out. You just take it to like that and push down on the back silicone part, and it just pops right out. And then I just put them in a baggie like this. Just make sure you write what it is on the bag and the date so you don't forget. And if it's kept properly in the freezer, should be good for, I would say, up to 6 months. Okay, so this is everything that we ended up with. So I've got these here that will go in the fridge to use within the next 2 to 3 days. And then I have the pouches over here for snacks, and then the freezer trays. And then I made a ton of the green bean mixture, so I have those in baggies over here with the date as well. One tip that I like to do for the things that I don't want to use a permanent marker for is I just use a dry erase marker. So that's what I used on these pouches, and I'll also use them on my glass jars in the refrigerator just so I have the date on there, and you can also write what it is if you want without leaving a permanent marker. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed making baby food with me. If you did try any of these recipe combinations, let me know in the comments which one you liked the best or which one your baby liked the best. I would love to hear. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.